Short answer: the main route used by clipper ships on the long routes from Europe to East Asia, Australia and New Zealand. Clippers, like all sailing ships, were dependent on wind patterns to go to their destination. The clipper route was the zenith of development of sailing ship routes to go around the globe. The clipper route was developed from the Dutch Brewer route, developed in the early 1600s as a fast route from the Netherlands to Indonesia. This route cut the journey from 12 months of the Portuguese monsoon routes to only 6 months, a massive improvement in travel time. The Brewer route made use of the strong prevailing westerlies of the Roaring Forties to travel fast across the south of the Indian Ocean. The clipper route was a further development of the principles of the Brewer route. It was indeed an optimization of this route as it took advantage of the Roaring Forties having free access almost all around the globe, being blocked only by Tasmania, New Zealand and Patagonia. This meant that ships could sail down to the Roaring Forties and travel eastward with the winds and currents to break off north at the optimal spot to head north to the destination, a significant improvement in travel time all across the globe. Add to this that the further south you go, the more you decrease the travel distance around the Earth as the Earth narrows in towards the pole. This makes it obvious that this route had significant advantages. One serious drawback, however, was the violent winds and waves coupled with icebergs from the Antarctic, making the Southern Ocean dangerous to navigate. Another reason for the late use of the clipper route was that to use the route effectively, it was first necessary to have a sure way of measuring longitudes, which only came about in the 19th century. Before this, land sighting was needed to know when to head north. For the Brewer route, a sighting of either Amsterdam Island or St. Paul Island was needed, otherwise the ships risked being shipwrecked in Western Australia. Even with proper measuring of longitudes, the route was still dangerous, especially when going further south, to shorten the journey by going into the Furious 50s or the Screaming 60s. The most hazardous part of the clipper route was the rounding of Cape Horn through the Drake Passage, where the ships needed to go into the Furious 50s to round the Cape. The combination of the narrowing of the Circumantarctic Current and turbulent cyclones from the Andes made this part of the route prone to shipwreckings. That the Circumantarctic Current is dominated by strong westerlies meant that the ships would sail around in an eastern direction. Sailing in the opposite direction was possible, but difficult, so usually the eastern direction would be chosen, which meant that a ship going from New York to California would often sail down the Atlantic and then go east, south of the Indian Ocean and up the eastern Pacific to California. The clipper route was the zenith of the development of sailing ship routes and the result of a centuries-long process of discovering the wind patterns and currents of the oceans to optimize travel time under sail. The clippers could thus do the round trips to Australia in less than 90 days each way, and the later windjammers would take 90 to 105 days each way. The clipper route would start to fall into disuse due to the combination of engine ships, the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal. The engine ships could sail in calmer waters, more independent from the wind, and the canals shortened the journeys around the world considerably. The last merchant ships to use the clipper route were windjammers going to Australia, with the last stopping shortly after the Second World War.